Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Terry.
And we're Escaping the Empty Nest.
Well, hi, and welcome back. Since we didn't have time to see the Pacific War Museum on our first day in Fredericksburg, we decided to take the detour back to Fredericksburg on our way home from San Antonio instead of taking our normal route home. So we could also try again one of those delicious peach strudels from the old German bakery, and we can see the Chester Nimitz Museum.
So you might be wondering, how did the National Museum of the Pacific War wind up in a small landlocked town in Texas Hill Country? So you see this man? It's Chester Nimitz, commander of the land and sea forces in the Central Pacific area during World War II. Now do you see this building? It's a Fredericksburg landmark, the Nimitz Hotel. It was built almost 100 years before World War II. Before Chester Nimitz was even born, his father passed away, so he and his mom lived in Fredericksburg with his grandfather, Charles. Charles owned the hotel since 1855. Here's a photo of the two of them together years later. To make a long story short, the hotel became a museum celebrating the life and career of Admiral Nimitz, and later was expanded greatly to include all aspects of the Pacific War.
The part of the hotel that faces Main Street still looks very much like it did 100 years ago. Behind it is a huge expansion for the museum complex and gardens, including an area where families can purchase plaques for their loved ones to have them included in the memorial wall.
About the collection itself, there's way too much there for us to get into room by room, display by display. We'd been there for an hour already, and we looked at the You Are Here map, and we hadn't covered but about 25% of the museum yet. Off the top of my head, I think the items that we found the most memorable were the door from the USS Arizona that was salvaged and brought to Texas, and they had a B-25 bomber like the one used in the famous 1942 Doolittle raid, even painted with Doolittle's own tail number.
The next part of the tour, the Room of Remembrance, was particularly difficult for me, being a mom myself of two kids. In this room, there was a collection of telegrams and other things that were sent by the War Department to families whose sons had died in the war. This particularly hard was looking at the displays for the Sullivan brothers, 5 brothers who were all stationed on the same ship. It was because they died in action together, all 5 of them, that the War Department changed their policy about having siblings serving on the same ships. 2 different destroyers were named in their honor. The Fighting Sullivans movie in 1944 was also about the brothers, and they were also mentioned in the movie Saving Private Ryan.
One thing that gave me chills was standing next to the full-size reproduction of the Little Boy. That was the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. They also showed a film of the 1945 ceremony when the Japanese signed the Articles of Surrender on the USS Missouri.
I now invite the representatives of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated.
After the film was over, the screen became translucent and it revealed a crashed fighter. Very impactful. For me, it was a reminder that even though peace was upon us, the loss was always there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement, Mark. After seeing all that, we went outside to continue the tour in the garden out there. There was memorial walls all over the garden, big long walls with tons of names and photos on plaques that were commemorating family members who had served in World War II. The thing that was the most interesting to me was seeing this great semicircular thing that had every single solitary president on it, from Roosevelt himself all the way to George H.W. Bush, and each and every one of the presidents had served in some capacity in World War II, and that was something I don't remember ever learning in my history books.
After we were finished in the garden, we went into the actual Nimitz Museum, which is inside what used to be the Nimitz Hotel. From there, we got to reflect on the life and career of the man himself. It's a small exhibit, but it has lots of interesting artifacts and history. But if we had to do it all over again, I might try to experience the smaller exhibit first, before then going into the larger building with all the World War II exhibits. We were really tired by the time we were done.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this tour of the Admiral Nimitz Museum as much as we have. Our feet are tired and it's been several hours, but we are really glad that we came here. There's a lot of good information on the Pacific War.
This was so detailed. The artifacts were amazing. We learned so much.
So glad we came. Hope you get a chance to see it someday too. We've been to Pearl Harbor. We've been to most of the Smithsonian museums. It's probably one of the most detailed museums I think we've ever seen in our entire life. And that's not a bad thing. It just has, if you want some information, if you want to really immerse yourself in this side of American history, it's incredible. So highly recommended. So I guess we will see y'all later, and bye for now.